Hello, and welcome to the Autodesk Buzzsaw training session series for Marriott International. In the previous sessions, we've covered information regarding access, regarding logging into Buzzsaw, regarding navigating the design standards and different types of project folders. And in this final installment of our series, we'll be covering some tips and tricks to using Buzzsaw to make you a more efficient user, as well as related applications for Buzzsaw. Now, to start out here, we're in the Thick Client application, and I'll be jumping over to the web version of the application whenever possible. I'm signed in on both with the same credentials, so that might be a good place to start here. So you can be logged into Buzzsaw on the web, on the Thick application. You can have multiple versions of the Thick application open with the same credentials any number of times at the same time. It won't kick you out if you're logged in multiple times. So let's say I could be looking at design standards here. I can open another window, and how about I go ahead and I'll just do that. I could open another window and log in with the same web admin credentials, and it won't kick me out of one or the other. So I could be looking at design standards in one, project information in another. And I'm also, of course, on the web. So another useful piece here that a lot of folks find very useful is if you're trying to collaborate with your team and you want to direct them towards a certain document or towards a certain folder, assuming they have Buzzsaw access or they have access to your project if that's where you're trying to direct them, all you need to do, and let's take a project for example, is you navigate to that project. So I've selected my Courtyard project, and I can right-click it, and I copy the URL. What this then enables me to do is I can paste that URL into an email, send it to someone else on the team, and then they'll click that URL, and they'll be prompted to log into Buzzsaw, and as soon as they log in, it'll take them to the exact folder that I need them to look at. So in the web application, this actually isn't a feature, which is another reason we try to direct people towards using that Thick client. And just to reiterate, you can only use the Thick client if you are not using a Mac machine. So if I right click on a folder here, it doesn't give me the option to copy the URL. So again, one of the benefits of using the Thick client is that URL capability. So let's say I'm having trouble figuring out where something is. I can also, in the Thick client, I can look at what I've viewed recently, any sort of a document I may have opened, and I can also search for something. So this is a great capability the Thick client has that I don't think gets used often enough. So what's nice here is you can look for a different file or different people, assuming you have access to be able to view it. So let's say I want to look for something in the Courtyard design standards. Courtyard. And so what I did here is it actually accepts the asterisks, so you can search just anything containing the word Courtyard. If I just did just Courtyard without the asterisks, it would have to match that exactly. So just to keep it open, I'm going to look for anything Courtyard. So here's what I have. I have 0 to 500 of 2,000 plus results. And that's just in my folders. So I go to my documents, and these are any documents related to Courtyard. So sort of discussions, markup, and version comments were okay. Folders. So what I have access to, what it was able to find is Courtyard brand information archive. And if I'm in the documents and say I'm searching for something and I can't really find what I want, or it's not on this page, you can go to the next page by clicking the arrow. So you can go one page over by using the small arrow, or you can go to the very last page by using the arrow with the line on it. Nothing there. Go back. Alright. So let's say I want to get a bit more specific here with this search. Right. So let's say I want to look for my pip folder. I'm not sure where to find it. Put in pip. It actually isn't even case sensitive, so I can do that. Search for it. Let's see what comes up here. Documents, folders. So let's see what I looked in here. I looked in everything I'm able to view, and the constraints are nothing, author, date created, on any date, subfolders, ignoring the case, okay. So it looks like I typed in pip, and anything with the word piping, because it was PIP, came up. Now I may be a little confused. Okay, now why didn't that bring up my pip folder? And I'll tell you why. So if we go back to the project folder to take a look at it, I'll navigate to that pip folder. I see pip is on the end here, meaning there's nothing beyond that last P. So I go back to the search function. If I took off this asterisk to make sure there's nothing beyond that pip, and I search, I should see it come up in the folders. And there it is. There's my folder with pip on the end. So just be careful with how you use those asterisks if you're using the search function, and it can become pretty useful for you. So let's say we're looking for something regarding Windows. I'll type in window and I'll search for it. Anything and everything. No folders, but in terms of documents, I have window schedule and details, and all these different drawings. And as you're looking through these documents, you can see the name of them, which version it is, and the exact folder it's located in. And if you want to go to a document, so let's say, these are all Spring Hill Suites. Let's say I'm interested in the Courtyard one. Let's say 2013, September to December. So I can also see who authored it, the size of the document, what type of file it is, when the last time it was modified was, what my access is to it. So it says I can view it, I cannot edit this document. If we scroll over here, just a couple other little things, such as who the owner is, who last modified it. The key info is really towards the beginning here. The name of the document, what folder it's in, and the last time it was modified in your access. So let's say I want to go to this. It would take me directly to this document while prompting me to download it, which I won't for these purposes. Takes me to this document for aluminum windows in the 2013 section of the published or historical design standards. It's a good search function to have. So just getting used to that. If you have troubles using the search function, I absolutely recommend you reach out to me and I'd be happy to help you. My contact information again is in the description at the bottom of this video. I'm happy to help with any sort of issues you may have using any part of Buzzsaw. Now, a couple other things to note here are some of the related applications for Buzzsaw. So if we go back online here, there's a Buzzsaw sync tool that you're able to download. So what this sync tool is, and I'll include the link to this page in the description, is the sync tool, it follows your permissions that you have on the site. So what you're able to view, what you're able to edit. And while following your permissions, it allows you to sync up certain folders to your desktop. So let's just say, for example, I wanted to be able to sync the project folder, my new build project folder, with something on my desktop. What I would do is I would download whichever system version applies to me, so we'll say the 32-bit, and then you'd be able to actually select the folder that you want to sync to your desktop. Some things to note here. So while this would enable you to have those folders updated at however often you'd like, you can either say the folder will update all the time, maybe a certain time every day, maybe once a week. Because it does follow your permission structure, if you, let's say, have a drawing in that sync folder that you want to work on, and you work on it and you edit it and save it, but then for whatever reason you move it out of that sync folder that's on your desktop somewhere else, then the next time it syncs with Buzzsaw, because the document would be gone from your sync folder on your desktop, it would then also be removed from Buzzsaw. So you have to be very careful about what you move in and out of that folder, but it is a nice feature to have so that anytime you connect to the internet, you could theoretically have documents synced with your desktop and then you can work on them. So then another thing to note here is, what if I want to be able to access Buzzsaw from a mobile device? So there is a Buzzsaw application that's free in the App Store that you can use for any sort of a tablet or smartphone. And this will let you view documents, but it will not let you edit documents. So it's useful for just kind of being able to look at what's going on, but it doesn't allow you to input comments or edit anything or remove anything. So it has very limited functionality. So another application that we highly recommend is Goodreader. So Goodreader, some of you may use it, some of you may not. Most of our project managers in the field do. It's a $5 application at the App Store that can become a single dashboard for really most business applications you use, because it can sync with any sort of file sharing, so any sort of an FTP, email, SugarSync, SkyDrive, Dropbox. It can sync all of that so that you can view it all in one place, and not only that, but you can not only download files, but it'll allow you to edit them and then put them back on Buzzsaw, for example. So I download a drawing, I edit it, it has a nice way of dealing with the file names, it has a nice editing tool, and then I put it back on Buzzsaw and everyone's able to see it. And I'm able to do all my work from a mobile device using Goodreader. So that said, that covers our little tips and tricks section of using Buzzsaw. So key takeaways here: the search functionality, copying the URL so that you can send it in an email, the different Goodreader and Buzzsaw applications, as well as Buzzsaw Sync. If you have any questions on these or want to dive deeper, feel free to contact me. Thank you again for your time, and this concludes our training session for Marriott Buzzsaw. Have a good day.